Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We've got an action-packed agenda today for you. We've got quite a... Oh, sorry, there's more people joining us as I'm doing it, so hopefully Kirsty's admitting those people. Anyway, I hope you find it also worthwhile you attending. I want to drill down into some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to start off by look at some of the challenges with the data held, about the data got held in Cloud ERP, and then sort of briefly discuss methods for improving that. And I'm really fortunate today to be joined by Mike Blackwell from Oracle, who's going to talk about trends in public sector and the opportunities of maximising the data usage that you've got there. And Christopher Holmes from Walsall Council, who's going to be talking about specific use case for finance, which has incorporated a lot of their ideas for improved visibility for finance and also budget managers. There's a Q&A we've got running here today. That's open for questions on the chat for the duration of the webinar. So please do feel free to ask any questions and we'll reply on chat. There's still more people joining there. Good. So if you just do press Q&A and ask a question, we can pick it up as we go. It's got a couple of people ready to answer any questions you've got there. But we'll also field these at the end of the session as well. Okay, just moving on site then. If you're not familiar with Beyond, as an introduction, we've been around for nearly 2 decades now, focusing on Oracle applications and analytics. So we do have quite a history with public sector, and we work with a lot of local authorities, including some of here today, actually Portsmouth, Leicestershire, Essex, Nottingham, Durham, Derby, etc. And actually also some universities. So I can see a couple of universities. So David Ford's team at the University of Hertfordshire. But we're pretty much focusing on Oracle Cloud Technology, analytics, and applications, and well, I'm going to introduce you to also the new Cosmos Cloud platform we've got. By way of like an extra little bit of some thought, in my experience, everyone has requirements over and above what is possible with Oracle Cloud ERP, from using their own BI tools such as Power BI, but on easily understandable data structures, through to rolling out scalable applications for hundreds or even thousands of budget managers that can feed forecast changes back into those source systems, so back into ERP and EPM. So it becomes a closed loop operation, all the way through to wanting to innovate with Gen AI with your own data to see what transformations can bring. I put some examples together in my little sort of comedy slide there, but you may recognize your own organization in there, perhaps even in more than one guise. So this is why getting access to that data in the cloud, ERP, HCM, EPM system is so important to achieve whatever your objectives might be. And note here when I'm saying develop applications, that's either internal, such as supporting the finance function, through to more citizen-facing applications. So with a lot of our data on one side and our aspirations on the other, how can we make this a reality? So I've got data from my cloud ERP and EPM, and I've got my requirements. How can I bridge that gap? Now, a good place I would say to start there is the things you have already. So the tools in cloud ERP. So whilst Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence, one of my favorite Oracle 4-letter acronyms, covers a lot of the data, it is by design not uncomplicated. So it's quite focused on the data in cloud ERP and really just that data. So it doesn't really have a lot of, well, it has no capability of accessing third-party data, and it's got a lockdown model. So if you're looking at data in social care systems, it's quite difficult to sort of process that. But it's also quite built on relatively old products, has a few idiosyncrasies because by nature it has to be generic for every business. And it's really just not designed for performance. It's directly querying tables that are being used for transactional data, and that's changing all the time. And thus there's limits on the amount of data and the time things can actually run. So if your data is secured by cost centers, then you can have some challenges there in many ways. So we're looking at it as being it's not the ideal tool to use as an enterprise. It isn't an enterprise warehouse. It is an enterprise platform. And of course, you haven't created the data structures are kind of generic. And if there's something that you want and is across multiple of those subject areas, you've got to work out, learn how to join those together. So as a default position, it's great for accessing some transactional data, but not really as like a corporate platform. So why would we export the data from Cloud ERP? Well, if we can do it in near real time and we can take that data out consistently, and we can only take the data, we take the data out, only the data that we need, and we can structure it how we want it, and we can name things how we know they're named, and we can design security from the ground up. We've got a platform that's scalable for increased, usage, say month end, but we need to be cost effective, and then the platform can, integrate data from other places as and when we need it. So we've got a modern cloud system that's elastic, evolving, and ultimately we can move data to any other cloud in a true heterogeneous multi-cloud solution. So what's not to like about that? So we get to see our data and use it in new and innovative ways. And we're going to see that with Chris from Walsall today, about how they've taken the data out of the cloud ERP system, freed it, made it into and structured it in such a way that it's now answering questions really quickly getting insight, getting proper insights from that data. So what is our approach to doing this? Well, firstly, a little backstory. We as Beyond have been developing applications based on data source from cloud, ERP and EPM for years. So we've learned a lot of lessons about the best ways to get data out, get it out rapidly, but importantly, consistently and streamlined in near real time. So we've put some years of effort into honing this, and we've taken the ETL engine that we use as the core of that and making this available as the heart of our Cosmos offering. So we've got a simple and effective way to free the data from cloud ERP, supply chain, HCM, and let you have access to this engine to perform your own extracts, put data into any cloud if you need it there, like Azure OneLake, or through to providing a managed service to manage, extend, and monitor this for you. It's what we've been doing for years, and we just surfaced it so everyone can free their own data and consume it however they want, on whatever cloud they want to, doing whatever tools they need to make that work for them. Simply, if we've got the Oracle Cloud, the cloud database, we extract the data out of that and store it somewhere, Oracle Object Storage. We can then fast load it into a database, and then transform it into a warehouse. So where before I was saying, the old OTBI wasn't really structured for performance and warehousing, well, this is what we do. So we structure the data so it's on on cloud infrastructure, using techniques such as parallelism, materialized views, partitioning, to really, really structure that data so it's fast. We build security in from the start, and then model that data. So aggregate it to make drill downs fast, because a lot of the time people are looking at high level things, looking at GL and drilling down through to the sub ledgers, especially obviously in finance, and make that model data ready for use, and ready for use by pretty much anything. So whether it's Oracle Apex to create applications on top of it, Oracle Analytics to analyze that data, through to analytic tools of kind of your choice. Power BI being obviously a common example within public sector, and we call this the Cosmos solution. So it's a fairly well structured process. So here, where we had, we're bridging this skills gap here really. So as well as the technology gap. So you can focus on getting the most out of your data, not getting your data out, as it were. This is very much an overview about wine results, not the nuts and bolts of the process, but just a little sort of sneak peek behind the scenes at the configuration. You can set the source and destinations, create an ETL and a process, and then these are orchestrated into a load plan. So whilst a lot of that's core, the aggregations and security obviously be specific to your organization. As the closer it is to how you need it, the less friction and working around things is needed. If you've ever experienced having to work around things because something's been designed and it does for something that's generic and it's not modeled for your requirements, it could be you're working around it and makes it a bit more tricky. So a little bit of finessing to meet the customer needs goes a long way. So kind of do it once at source, and then everything downstream works as it should. That's just a bit of a look. But now you've got your data out. If you've got the data out, we get it out fast, we get it structured, and we get it in a really usable format. You can use it how you need it. So this is like a really sort of a common thing for the councils that I've been working with, is a lot of people want to do this, is allow cost center managers to see the cost centers as they own, drill through cost center hierarchies, drill through subjective hierarchies, and see all the issues and anomalies. I mean, that becomes now quite fast and easy once you've got that data out, structure it, and put it into a nice little application. And with security built in, the system knows the user, knows what they want to see. The security is assured, they know the cost centers that person owns, so there's no danger of them seeing things they shouldn't do and only seeing the things that they should. So using Apex is kind of powerful, pattern matching, got user-defined reports, color coding, all that kind of good stuff. Can all be quite easily done once we've got the data out and once we've structured it. So another couple of examples here. I've just got the thing HCM data. Once we've got the data out, we can analyze HCM data in modern tools, self-service, create data stories, visualizations, identify trends, present in meetings. This is something I do with some HCM data out of cloud, just to give a different sort of a modern take on it. And I've done something similar here with invoicing. So again, I've done this in Oracle Analytics, but of course we could do it in Power BI, Tableau, Qlik, pretty much anything. So we can use techniques like narrative reporting to explain the data, or use machine learning, AI, to interrogate the data. Say in finance, who's paying us late, and then look at potentially when a default may occur in AR, or we've got issues in AP with holes. Do we have the best relationship with suppliers we possibly could? So we can do that. And using the latest platform like Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and the Oracle Warehouse, we can use Gen AI. So here I'm reaching out using OpenAI, but we can use Cohere or other large language models to pass data structures, so our data is not going out. We're generating we're passing data structures across to OpenAI. That's generating queries for us. Then we're running those queries that it generates against our data dynamically to interrogate our own data. So our data doesn't get passed out to third parties, just the metadata. And these sort of innovations make it possible for us to start to encompass Gen AI, well, then enable you to encompass Gen AI into your own data. So here, for example, I'm just asking a question: what's the total invoice amounts? 70,000. And I can start asking questions of the data. Well, who are top 3 suppliers, and what are their invoice amounts then? And then ask more questions and ask more detailed questions. So as I'm getting the answers back, I'm going, well, that's interesting. And, so what's the percentage breakdown for those? So I can ask. I've kept it quite simple and straightforward here, but you can start to ask some quite involved questions of the data. So this is not even just visualizing the data and pointing, clicking on dashboards anymore. I'm starting to have more of a conversation with the data, which is all made possible. In terms of the scale of the platform, I think NEP is a great example of a thought-leading innovator who processed a lot of data. So I just want to put this here as a sort of a baseline benchmark to say, someone who processes a lot of data on Cloud ERP, they needed to extract that data consisting of hundreds of millions of records, transform it in Oracle Cloud to create applications to be consumed by thousands of users. So it needed to be, this wasn't a small ask, reliable, fast, secure, scalable, easy to use, cost effective. But it's quite an achievement to have done this and then build out from budget managers all the way through to directors of finance and into procurement. They've got here's an example of like a kind of a dashboard that they've got. Very few filters along the top because it knows who you are. All the security is built in, and it's how they want to see it and how they like to see it. Color coding, start at top level, budget actuals, forecast, and then drill through to the detail. I'll leave this here for a second because they do actually have quite a nice video. There's only 2 minutes long that focuses on how they've kind of done that and what it looks like and the reasoning behind that. So I'm just going to kind of wrap up some options for engagement here about how to engage with a platform like this and a service like this. One, and going back to the personas that people had. One is simply data. So use the engine just to extract flat files out to any cloud. So I want this data, I want invoices, I want my general ledger, I want this. I want to point at it, extract that data out and put it into any cloud. So put it into, say, Azure. So as simple as that, really. Get your data out really quickly on this kind of a platform. Through to more of a custom service, so run data as a service. So we can extract and transform data as a service, run the engine, you tell us what you want, we'll bring the data out, then add in new extracts, aggregations and security based on what you need to see. Visualize all of that data once you've got it out there. So once the data is out, it's been aggregated, visualize it using a visualization tool, or build applications on top of that data. And applications, again, aren't just nice things to look at and drill through the data. It can actually push results back, so you can change forecasts and change things. So you can use a different application that works how you want it to work, using approvals and workflow, and push that data back through to your ERP system. All the way through to, well, pretty much, as I say, anything goes. There's just, once the data's out and it's in a warehouse and it's been conformed, and you can put any tools on top of it and build what you like and integrate data from social care or highways or whatever it might be. Pretty much you can do absolutely anything with it. You can contact me on this detail, but I'll put this up later on so you can have a look at it. This is our website with just a bit about the sort of Cosmos platform and how Cosmos works. And that's my email address, should anyone want to contact me about that in any more details. Right, I'd now like to hand over to Mike from Oracle, who's going to look at data trends within public sector. Mike.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I hope everyone can see the slides and can hear me okay. I think we're doing this in slightly the different sequence than we originally intended, but actually it's a perfect lead to what you were describing. The fundamental nature and role of data in the public sector. Now, yeah, it's stating the obvious to say this is an absolutely key subject, really a time of significant change and technical advancement, and also societal change, and data and those changes in public sector really come together. And what I'd like to do in the next 10 minutes is just explain a little more of that data platform, why we're architecting it, building it, the strategy that underpins why we're building that data platform in that way, because of what we see coming in the future, exactly as you just described, that ability to get far better access to our data. So what's driving it, of course, and you guys are the professionals. I'm just fortunate enough in my role in Oracle, in our development organization, as one of our data strategists and one of our data architects, to think about these things, but you guys live it. But we have that changing citizen expectation, the demographics, and it's of course different across different parts of the world. Very in some parts of the world, very aging populations. In other parts of the world, incredibly youthful populations. One way or another, the rapid demographic change is driving different a change in the way that those citizens live their lives. That, of course, has an impact on sustainability, something key to, I'm sure, all of our hearts. There is one thing that unites this, though, to understand it, to be able to deliver the services that citizens need, to deliver the level of quality of those services. It's all about data, and that. It'd be wonderful to have an unlimited budget and a magic wand, I think, would probably be required to be able to solve all of those data problems. But we at Oracle, we believe that actually there's a systematic approach to addressing those macro trends to be able to become far better data-driven public servants. The first thing, as we know, gaining visibility across all data. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But so much data is currently completely siloed. It's unfortunately maybe worse than siloed. It's in contention. There may be data sets that actually describe the same thing but give different results. So to understand good quality data, to be able to find the needles in the haystacks, well, you need to be able to actually see it all. Now, of course, Security therefore comes to the absolute fore. There are different ways of doing that. There's, as we know at the moment, with data mesh architectures, data fabric architectures that are around data distribution, often across multi-cloud. But there's also a need to consolidate data. So when we think about the fundamental needs of data, we're thinking of how do we distribute this, but also how do we consolidate it? It's not a binary world when it comes to data. We need a data platform that can actually do both. When you bring those data sources together, well, you can start to apply machine learning algorithms at scale and start making better decisions. When you make better decisions, you can apply it across a broader set of services, which means you can start delivering lower risk operations. You can start to model in far greater degree of granularity the ability to model and predict the impact on services as soon as you can bring that data together, just as Mark was describing, that far broader set of data. And then, of course, when you can do that, when you can get visibility of data, when you can trust that data, when you can apply it to decision making, you can start to automate those decisions. Now, in the public sector, there are some real challenges around that. I wouldn't for one second belittle those challenges. So it'll be a question of understanding where the best outcomes will be, governing that properly, applying the appropriate ethical controls, and of course being able to understand the impact of those automated decisions in real time and the impact on citizens' lives. But this is the path that we're on. This is the needs of data to serve the citizen, which means you need a data platform that can deliver all of these capabilities. If we think about data in itself, the raw form, just as Mark was describing, well, it's a structured world, very still at its core. People, HCM, census data, taxation data, assets, case management, resource systems, operational case management systems. But how do you understand a citizen just in terms of those highly process-driven data structures? Well, when actually the citizen's interaction may be around spatial data. Where do they live? Where do they move? What how are they operating in their local government, their local region? So you're going to have to understand a much broader set of data to understand just your citizens' access of services. And then, of course, there's the world of unstructured data around all that semi-structured data, all the social data that really informs around citizens' expectations, their experiences of accessing services, their day-to-day lives. All of the audio, video and image data, emails, the unstructured documents, to understand my experience as a citizen. It's not just going to be that structured data. It's actually not going to be the semi-structured data. It's not going to be the unstructured data. It's being able to bring all of that data together. And then when you can bring it together, you can then start applying the really smart AI and ML that Mark was describing, and I'll describe in a little more detail. We call it the all data opportunity. That's the good bit. Of course, it comes with increasing complexity. That's the challenge, managing all of these disparate and discrete data types in the most efficient manner possible. So that's what we at Oracle are thinking about when we talk about a data platform. It's the ability to manage all of these, to get value from it, to understand the quality of that data, and ultimately to automate those decisions. It's about the power of any, the ability to mesh and integrate data, to do it in a really secure manner. That's a given. That's our 40-year plus track record of security within Oracle. Do it with consistency and do it in a highly governed manner. If you can't be consistent with your data, if you don't trust your data, if it isn't up to date enough to make a decision with, then, well, you can't automate those decisions. So at the core of our platform, we have our data technology that enables transaction processing, data warehousing, data lake capabilities, and enables the automation of them. All the manual processes around security, updates, optimizing those data stores. Our vision is that will all have to become automated. The application of AI to the data management platform itself. Just as Mark described, talking about Apex, is the ability to build applications directly on these data sources. So you've got an automated platform to deliver insight, build an application straight of it, build analytics and visualizations straight into that data platform, provide AI and ML capabilities within the platform, all automated. We have within the Oracle Data Platform about 42 pre-built machine learning models. We don't talk about it enough, but its time has come. And of course, exactly as Mark described, new generative AI capabilities. The way we talk about it is the database that speaks human. And what we need the ability to do is any data source. I've worked for Oracle now for just over 12 years. I've been in the industry a little longer. We call it the power of any because you're going to need to deal with any of those data types. You don't get to decide ultimately what they are, particularly when you get into that world of unstructured data. I've not found a data type that we've been unable to deal with, working with quite a few customers now. So what this all means is that we give you a data platform that is automated. It can handle the various workloads from highly structured data through to unstructured data, and it enables you to focus on business outcomes. But we're aware of the fact that, okay, it's any data, any application, anywhere, and open. But we know that you'll have your own tools, again, just as Mark described. So we focus on providing absolute best of breed tooling around this data platform, but we're aware that all those sources of data will be far beyond the Oracle ecosystem. We have one of the broadest partner networks in the industry. We're aware that you'll have your favorite tools as well. Tableau, Qlik. We always joke that BI tools are the one thing that is the hardest to get people to agree on. So we just accept and appreciate the fact that we create an open platform to enable you to bring your own visualization and analytics tools. Our partners around there, new tooling such as Cohere for generative AI models. Partners that you're probably quite aware of, Informatica, who have brilliant data governance tooling. We work really closely with them to bring their capabilities to this platform. We try to meet you where you are. We provide a core of an incredibly automated, feature-rich data platform that you can then bring your ecosystem around. And what it means for public sector is all those data types. We have got so much detail on this that I would be more than happy to share. Perhaps we could have another session, but we're building best practice architectures so that for treating all of that data from people and HCM and case systems and ERP, taxation, down to the real nitty gritty of photogrammetry, LiDAR data, being able to take data sets that in the past have been really disparate and then apply machine learning at scale so that we can focus on the outcomes for you guys: citizen experience, optimization of assets, human capital management, fraud, loss and waste, environmental planning. In fact, we're trying to do the hard work for you, working with Beyond, so that we can look at discrete sets of public sector data and focus on, okay, what's the Oracle best practice around how do we treat data types for this, from emergency management, criminal justice and law and order, infrastructure management and resource planning. Really interesting subject. Lots and lots of LiDAR data, being able to spot issues with infrastructure. I guess I live in Norfolk, so I might have to mention potholes. Being able to spot issues with infrastructure that might cause problems, to be able to predict how that is going to grow, predict on encroachment of vegetation, particularly at this time of year, and fundamental operational efficiency. Of course, as well, we're working on the ones that are perhaps slightly more the here and now, such as education, being able to understand personal learning processes and profiles, social services, and I guess of interest to quite a few people on this call, financial management. What are our best practices around how moving from the traditional batch world of data management and financial data analysis, as Mark was describing? How do you then apply those generative AI and ML techniques to it? An interesting one that I've just been working on recently is being able to identify procurement invoice anomalies. It's working with quite a large organization, and essentially we've been able to get a 90% increase in automatically spotting invoice anomalies. This is it's Fusion data. It's then applying generative AI data science techniques to it, and going from, I think the automatic detection rate was something around 5%, and as I said, it's now just above 90%. Saves a huge amount of manual effort, and at the same time increases the cost effectiveness of that process hugely. We've got lots and lots of architecture detail on all these, which I'll spare you now. But all of these examples that you see here, we've documented our best practice, how to ingest the data, how to curate it, what's the best algorithm to use to analyze the data, the best visualization. So we've got a huge amount of detail. On that note, I think I am a little over time. This is the very tip of an iceberg. I'll send some links for the Beyond team to distribute, so you can go and take a look at this yourself. But hopefully I've given you an idea of the capabilities and the breadth and depth of the platform. I think I'm handing back to you, Mark.
I think it might be over to me, in fact. So yeah, more than all, I've been tasked. I'll just share with slides. Just bear with me a second. So yeah, I've been tasked with doing a presentation on the use case specifically to Walsall Council. So just to give you a bit of background, I've been at Walsall for about 2.5 years, with a particular focus on systems and improvements, and we've been working with Beyond Systems for probably just over a year now, about 15 months, something like that. So yeah, that's kind of the background as to where we're at and where this presentation comes from. So if you just bear with me, I will make a start. So yeah, as a very quick introduction, these are the things I'm going to talk about. So I'll look at the challenges that we had with Oracle ERP and EPM, specifically at Walsall, and I'll then look at how we implemented the Beyond system at Walsall, what improvements that has then achieved for us, a bit about usage and feedback from finance and budget managers, and then just a very brief conclusion as well. So I will try and keep it brief, and hopefully there'll be time for questions at the end then as well. So yeah, first slide there is around challenges that we had at Walsall. So using Oracle ERP and EPM, we found that particularly for budget managers, there was a limited data visibility and accessibility. So finance had access to Fusion and also to EPM, we did, which I'll come on to, we did try to roll out EPM to budget managers, not that successfully. So essentially, budget managers were reliant upon finance to get their financial information, which also leads on to the next point. So we had difficulty sharing real-time information with budget managers as well. So a lot of it was shared via spreadsheets and emails, which obviously isn't ideal, and it also means the data is out of date by the time that you've shared it, particularly with an EPM as well. So we were presenting them data that was generally a month out of date by the time that we were presenting it to them. We also had data security issues, so really struggled to come up with a solution for providing invoice and transaction level detail from ERP to budget managers, and trying to secure that to cost center level. We didn't really come up with a good solution for that, so that was another issue really as well. And then finally, the kind of data analysis piece. So again, we had some limited data analysis that we were doing within EPM, but it was fairly limited that we were doing initially. So what did we do about it? There's obviously a bit more to it than this, and we had a full scenario appraisal, but essentially once we decided that we were going with Beyond System, this is kind of what we did. So a lot of the stuff here is what you'd expect, so I'm not going to go through it in a lot of detail, but we identified who stakeholders were, formed a project team, which was essentially my team. So there are 4 of us, but we haven't worked full-time on the project. We've kind of been in and out of it, and we've also relied on the business where we've needed them as well. We had a project plan and a timeline, and obviously developed that in conjunction with Beyond, and we've had a lot of scoping sessions with Beyond as well to kind of tell them what our requirements were, to make sure that what we were developing met our needs at Walsall. As part of that, we've interfaced data from ERP and EPM. Obviously, Mark and Michael both talked about the various ways in which you can do that, so I'm not going to go into that in detail. And obviously, as we've been developing it, we've been doing regular testing and developing as we've gone along. So when we've encountered any issues, we've worked together with Beyond to resolve those. We've finally then trained the end users, so that's finance and budget managers, and then we've managed to deploy the system to both finance and budget managers. So it says there revenue and capital. So we've rolled out revenue about 6 months ago, probably slightly more than that now, actually, maybe 7 or 8 months ago. Capital's only been fairly recent, so we've got more data, which I'll come on to on the revenue side. But yeah, we have rolled out revenue and capital data to budget managers. So this is a very brief screenshot of what we call the landing page within our Beyond system. So again, we developed this as a custom landing page with Beyond based on Walsall's requirements. It is test data, so you're not seeing anything here that you shouldn't see, and I'm not going to go through it in detail, but really just to kind of pick out a few key points. You can see there we've got some conditional formatting on based on variance rules, so we're flagging to budget managers where they've got a variance that they might want to look into because it's red on this page. We've also got more info buttons where you can drill down into the detail behind it if budget managers want to look at that. And we've got some graphs here as well, which can be customized, so you can select or deselect whatever you need and drill down into specific periods. We've got a couple of other trend graphs that we've created as well, which I haven't got a screenshot of, but yeah, essentially these are all the things that we've asked for, working in conjunction with Beyond, and the idea is to give budget managers a snapshot when they first log in of all their budgets, forecasts and actuals, and obviously secured down to the cost center level that they've got access to. As I mentioned, this is revenue, and you can see at the top there, we do have a similar page for capital as well, and budget managers who've got both can switch between the two, so we've got that functionality there as well. So the improvements that it's brought, really kind of going back to the issues that I talked about before. So budget managers have now got more visibility of the data. They can access it themselves without relying on finance. We can collaborate more easily as well, because budget managers and finance can access the same data, and also can add comments as well if they want to. So that means we can collaborate easier with budget managers as part of the forecasting process. Security, as I say, it's all secured down to cost center level, so people can only access what they should be able to access. and data analysis. So through the system, budget managers and finance can create their own custom reports and dashboards. So the one that I showed you is our kind of default landing page, but there are lots of other screens within the system where people can create their own custom reports. So that helps as well, where people have got specific needs that they need to look at. So very briefly on usage and feedback since we rolled this out, budget managers, the consensus is that it's a lot easier to use than EPM when we did try to roll that out to budget managers. They also have reported better decision-making ability. So obviously the fact that they can now access the data themselves, for instance, an example, they can see up-to-date information on what they've spent, so that will make a decision on whether they make any further orders or not. And obviously from that point of view as well, we can also improve accountability as well. So the fact that budget managers now have access to all of their information means that they can also be held accountable for it as well. And just a couple of stats there as well. So when we did roll out some basic dashboards in PBCS or EPM, we only ever had 32% of budget managers logging in and accessing the system. That was over the space of just over a year. As I say, we rolled out the revenue element of Beyond system about 6 months ago, just over, and since then we've had 63% of budget managers regularly logging in. Obviously we are working on that and trying to get as close to 100 as we can, but as you'll all be aware, for those of you that work in local authorities, there can be some tricky areas. So yeah, that's kind of, you'll see the improvement obviously there from an uptake point of view. So finally, the conclusion is, based on what I've just said, using the Beyond forecasting and budget management system has transformed our experience at Walsall. So finance and budget managers now are able to access information a lot easier than they were before. And as was mentioned, from a kind of data visibility, collaboration, security and data analysis point of view, it's a lot easier for finance and budget managers to be able to do those things. And it also means that from a decision making point of view, when they're actually making decisions on their budgets, they're a lot better informed. And from a forecasting point of view, the process can be more collaborative now as well. So finance and budget managers can work together using the Beyond system. So yeah, it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I think that's everything from me.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Chris and Mike as well. Hopefully anyone was asking questions, my colleagues have answered them as we've been going along. But if I just share this screen again with you, here's my details. Should anyone have any other questions regarding this, the presentations, please contact me and I'll make sure that if they're for Mike or they're for Chris, I'll also get them. I'll get them sent across and any questions answered. Well, I thought that was great. That was a great wrap up there, Chris, because it was really interesting to see, the difference. I think collaboration was probably the word that I picked out from your thing about taking that data out, giving it to people, being able to push it out to people who perhaps weren't engaging with that data as well as you were hoping they would do when they had just that EPM product. And giving them access to that data, they can see it really quickly, collaborate, and there's the positive benefits coming out of just doing that as a process. So I think if anything, it underlines an example of, if you get that data out and you can manipulate it and then disseminate out the organisation, get more value out of it. I think is where I'm going with that. Squeezing the value out of that data the best as you can is the goal of all this. So we've hit our time now. I think it's probably time to wrap up at 11:45. Any questions? Pass them on to me. I think now. I apologise for us hitting the mark, but I hope you found this an interesting session. And I thank you all very, very much for your attendance, and thank you for your time. Thank you indeed, and thank you, Mike and Chris especially. Thank you.